Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Teddi Mellencamp reveals medical oversight amid cancer battle. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fans have been following Teddi Mellencamp's health journey over the past few years. Recently, the star opened up about an oversight early on that she feels greatly impacted her later health. Using her story, Teddi also shared how she feels people should act when dealing with their own health struggles. Teddi is the daughter of musician John Mellencamp. For many, she is best known for appearing on 3 seasons of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, from 2017 to 2020. Back in 2022, Teddi shared that she had been diagnosed with stage 2 melanoma, a type of skin cancer. Later, in 2025, in addition to having brain tumors removed, she shared her melanoma had progressed to stage 4. Teddi is the daughter of musician John Mellencamp. For many, she is best known for appearing on 3 seasons of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, from 2017 to 2020. Back in 2022, Teddi shared that she had been diagnosed with stage 2 melanoma, a type of skin cancer. Later, in 2025, in addition to having brain tumors removed, she shared her melanoma had progressed to stage 4. Speaking with Glamour, Teddi recently talked about an oversight made by medical professionals during the early stages of monitoring her condition. She noted this happened in spite of her making regular health visits. As Teddi shared, "When you go to a doctor, you just assume that's it. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do." Looking back, she felt it was important to do her research amid the doctor visits. She shared, "At first, I didn't even really do the research on melanoma because I didn't want to know all of the bad things." Teddi then touched on how medical professionals overlooked symptoms before her cancer reached stage 4. She shared, "There's a difference between self-diagnosing yourself and being an advocate for your own health. I never really thought about it because I was like, I go to a doctor every 3 months. Why wouldn't they get me checked?" Teddi's highest stage melanoma was a stage 1 lesion found in her shoulder. As her previous diagnoses hadn't gone past stage 1, doctors initially felt full body scans weren't necessary. Looking back, however, she feels like this kept doctors from realizing her melanoma was spreading. Teddi shared, "When I finally followed up on it, they were like, we didn't do the scans, because you didn't have anything above a stage 1 on your body. But look what happened." The Real Housewives star wanted to use her story to help advocate for people taking charge in their own healthcare journeys. She shared, "It's really being an advocate for yourself and your health if you're not feeling good." As fans know, Teddi has also used social media to share her story with fans. In addition to sharing her health journey, she also touched on the emotional turmoil it has had on her. In a recent post, where she shared her hair regrowing, Teddi shared, "Cancer comes with so many emotions: anger, sadness, loneliness. And while I feel grateful that immunotherapy is saving my life, I feel like I live in a fog, and I can't help but beat myself up on all of the ways I'm falling short. I just desperately want to be back to my usual self." Have you been following Teddi Mellencamp's story on social media? Make sure you come back too for all the latest reality TV and celebrity news. Teddi Mellencamp had grown accustomed to the ritual of waiting rooms, the quiet shuffle of nurses' shoes, the hum of machines that monitored life with consistent beeps, the antiseptic scent that lived somewhere between comfort and alarm. Yet, nothing could have prepared her for the revelation that her fight against cancer had been compromised by something as simple and devastating as human oversight. She remembered the phone call vividly. It was late afternoon, sunlight spilling through the wide windows of her Los Angeles home, catching dust like floating sparks. She had just finished a jog, sweat still cooling on her skin, when her phone buzzed. At first, the doctor's tone sounded ordinary. Professional, calm, the way all doctors learn to speak. Then his voice slipped. It was subtle, but unmistakable. There had been a mistake. "An oversight," he said. Teddi felt her knees buckle and pressed a hand against the counter to steady herself, eyes fixed on the sunlight as though she could stop time. Oversight didn't sound accidental. It sounded negligent. It sounded like something that could change a life. She listened as the doctor carefully explained. Blood work flagged months earlier had been categorized incorrectly. The indicators had been there. Elevated markers, irregular cell patterns. But they weren't reviewed by the specialist who should have seen them. They sat in a digital folder, silent and unattended, while her life moved forward as though nothing was wrong. By the time those results resurfaced, her cancer had progressed. After ending the call, Teddi found herself unable to move. She remained in the same position, still gripping the cold marble countertop, her reflection staring back at her from the glossy surface. A woman who had already been through so much, who now faced more questions than answers. It wasn't the first time her world had shifted suddenly. She thought back to when she received her original diagnosis. The fear was swift, but so was her resolve. She would fight, she would speak, she would share her journey with the world, because someone out there might be living in silence. Her struggle could be someone else's guide. Her transparency someone else's lifeline. But this was a storm she hadn't seen coming. The news spread quickly once she chose to speak out. On her podcast, her voice didn't shake, though her heart did. She explained what happened carefully, determinedly, not out of vengeance but out of necessity. If she didn't say something, who would know that oversights like hers were possible? Common, even? She knew people listened when she talked about health. That responsibility weighed on her now more than ever. She told her listeners about the missed results, the delayed intervention, and the disbelief that followed. She described the surreal feeling of learning that her timeline, her journey, could have been different. The fight might have been shorter. The recovery, sooner. Or maybe she wouldn't have needed such aggressive treatment. That was the wound invisible to everyone but her. Yet, even as she spoke, she refused to let anger drown her hope. She believed accountability was necessary, but so was resilience. Her father, John Mellencamp, had always told her that truth was worth speaking even when it made the room uncomfortable. Maybe especially then. In the days after the reveal, she heard stories from others. Messages poured in, people who'd had scans misplaced, test results delayed, symptoms dismissed. They told her how they'd trusted machines and systems, never thinking that vigilance might need to come from themselves. Teddi read them all. One story struck her deeply. A young mom who discovered a lump and was told it was likely nothing, only to learn months later it was not only cancer, but advanced. She wrote that hearing Teddi speak gave her permission to advocate more fiercely for herself. That was why Teddi had shared her story. Not to point fingers but to spark action. She would sit on the back patio with a blanket around her shoulders and watch the city lights flicker. She thought about how many people endured medical uncertainty in silence. Some battled insurance systems, others faced understaffed clinics, many lacked the resources to second-guess their doctors. It made her determined to advocate not just for herself, but for everyone who didn't have her platform. She started asking questions during appointments. Detailed questions. She requested copies of paperwork, timelines, explanations. She encouraged others to do the same. One doctor told her he appreciated it, that patients should be part of their own care. But another seemed unsettled, eyes flicking briefly toward the clock. She didn't care. She wasn't there to make anyone comfortable. Her experience was reshaping her into someone bolder, sharper. Someone who understood that oversight wasn't a moment. It was a consequence. And that consequence shaped her body, her journey, and her ability to trust. Months passed. She continued treatments, charting progress like a commander in battle. The oversight, though painful to accept, became part of the larger tapestry of her story. A chapter she didn't choose, but one she would not let define her fully. When she finally returned to her podcast to reflect again, she spoke with clarity. "We have one body," she said. "We have to be its fiercest protector. Doctors are human. Systems make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes change everything. But we don't stop. We get louder. We get braver. We advocate." She paused then, breathing softly into the microphone. "This isn't just my story. It's ours." And with that, she reclaimed something that had been momentarily taken. Her power. Not the power to prevent every storm, but the strength to weather them honestly, and to help others find shelter in the truth. Teddi's journey was still unfolding. The path wasn't straight. It wound, it dipped, but she walked it with purpose, knowing her voice, steady, resilient, human, might be the one someone else needed to hear. Her fight wasn't only against cancer now. It was for awareness, for accountability, for change. And she was nowhere near done.